I have a long overdue makeup Empties video to do. At this point, I have gone through $531.69 worth of makeup products. Let's see how many. I believe I have 24 makeup Empties to share. I have already surpassed the amount of makeup products that I finished last year. I think I used up, what, 32 products last year, and now I'm at a total of 41. So it's not even halfway through the year yet, and I've already gone through more than I did all of last year. So that is very exciting. Like I do in every Empties video, I am going to pour everything out and sort the makeup into categories, separating it by eyes, lips, and face makeup. And that way you can get a little sneak peek of what we're going to be talking about today. So eye products are always the smallest category for me. I don't go through eye makeup as quickly as I do other categories. One of them is a mascara. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Legendary Lashes Volume 2 mascara. When I first wore this for the first month of wearing it, I really liked it. And then after a while, it just started to feel really heavy and gloopy. And I just feel like the formula changed so fast that after 3 months of using it, I was ready to be done. Which I am a little bit relieved because this is an expensive mascara, so I'm glad I didn't fall head over heels for it. But yeah, it was good at the beginning, and then it kind of just got worse over time, which is usually the opposite. Most mascaras I tend to like better as they dry out. And then I did finish a Charlotte Tilbury eyeliner. This was one of their classic pencils, and the shade was Classic Brown, and I do really like brown eyeliners. I have one from Essence currently, so I don't need to repurchase this one. I don't really feel like I need to spend 20-something dollars on a pencil liner, but this was great. I really enjoyed it. I liked the color, and even though it was a pencil liner, so those tend to be a little bit drier than maybe other types of eyeliners, it still blended really nicely and smudged well, which is anything I can ask for with an eyeliner. It didn't stay the best in the waterline, but yeah, it was good. And then, okay, every single eye product is Charlotte Tilbury. I didn't plan that, but I did finish 2 eyeshadows from my quad, the Charlotte Tilbury Luxury Palette, the Pillow Talk version. And I did talk about this in my Project Pan update because I am panning this in that update, and I finished the 2 shades here. The top one was like a satin beige color, and then the bottom one was a topper, and it was like a champagne-y gold color, and I really liked both of them. I still have these 2 mattes here. Hopefully I can finish these soon and talk about those in a future update as well. Let's talk about lips real quick. I'm really glad to see myself actually going through lip products because those tend to be very slow going for me, but I've just been reaching for glosses and tinted lip balms a lot lately. And these 2 from Charlotte Tilbury, these are the Collagen Lip Baths. These are some of my favorite lip gloss formulas out there. And I finished the shade Refresh Rose, which was pretty much a clear gloss. And then this one was Peachy Plum. It had a slightly peachy color, a little bit of a gold sparkle to it, but it wasn't glittery or gritty at all. And these were really moisturizing. A little expensive. I am trying some other gloss formulas, so I don't need to run out and repurchase these specifically, but I do still have 2 of these in my collection, so it's not like I'm left without. A lip gloss formula I do really like, but maybe not as much as the Charlotte Tilbury one, is this one from Milani. This is the Keep It Full Nourishing Lip Plumper in the shade Luminoso. This also had glitter in it, but I could feel it just a little bit. It wasn't bad or off-putting, and the formula is very similar to the lip baths. So if you're looking for a more affordable version of that gloss formula, the Milani one is good, and they even have more shades. But the lip baths take me 263 uses to finish on average, and this Milani one only took 111. So even though it is cheaper, I don't get as much use out of this one as I do the Charlotte Tilbury one. Okay, I did the math, and the Charlotte Tilbury lip baths are about 13 cents per use, and the Milani one is about 10 cents per use. And so the cost per use isn't really that different. And I think a big reason for that is because the doe foot on the Milani gloss is a lot bigger, and you get a lot more product each time. The Charlotte Tilbury one doesn't pull out as much product with its wand as much as the Milani one does. I still prefer the Charlotte Tilbury one, but I think they're both great. And if I were to purchase the Milani one again, I'd probably get like a more rosy one and maybe one without any glitter. 2 more lip products. I have a mini of the Tarte Maracuja Juicy Lip Plump. I was in the shade Primrose, and I liked the color of this. It was a nice tinted lip balm, but it was very minty, and I'm just not really a fan of that, so I wouldn't buy it again for that reason. And this one took 58 uses to finish. And the last one is super exciting. This one was easily the oldest product in my collection. I bought this back in my working at Ulta days, which was like probably around 2015 or 16, I would say. And I didn't end up finishing this on my lips. I actually wore it as a cream blush. I learned that from a YouTube short that Sarah Rose did, and I just think that's such a great idea. I'm going through another lip liner the same way, and it was just a really beautiful color. If I mixed it with certain liquid highlighters, I could get it to look a lot like that really hot pink color that's really trendy right now. The one Bubbly from Persona Cosmetics, I think. I was able to get a really close color to that based on what I mixed it with. So that was fun. I kind of got the hot pink blush thing out of my system, and I was able to finish a really old makeup product. Now for face, I don't really have it organized in any way specifically, but I will focus on concealers first. I finished two. The first one was the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Creamy Concealer in the shade Light 40N. This is a really great shade match for me. I really like the formula for this because it's creamy, it blends in really nicely, but it still has a decent amount of coverage. And then the one from Makeup Revolution, this is the Eye Bright Illuminating Under Eye Concealer in the shade Light. This one is incredibly skin-like. It does have decent coverage, but it's not full coverage by any means. And this was really great for no makeup days. It was also great on my face if I wanted to kind of just cover up some redness, but I didn't want a full face of makeup. I finished the Makeup Revolution one first, and then I finished the Colourpop one, and then I realized I don't have any more concealers in my collection. I don't think has ever happened to me ever since I started getting into makeup. And so I did buy a mini of the Hourglass concealer. I got the shade Cedar, and this is just okay. I'm actually not very impressed with this. The Makeup Revolution eye brightener took 105 uses to finish, and the Colourpop concealer took 163 uses to finish. I'm astounded, but I have 3 powders. I do use a lot of powder in the summer, and a lot of these were almost finished by the time I got to them. This one is the e.l.f. Halo Glow powder, and this one was just okay. I like mattifying powders, and so this having that like healthy glow to it wasn't exactly my cup of tea. Same with this one from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Genius Magic Powder for under eye and face. I was in the shade Too Fair, and this one was also just okay. I do prefer the translucent HD powders that are like no color, and they're just better at mattifying, and they don't look like anything on the skin. These ones having that little bit of a skin tint color to them, I just found didn't really work well. The Charlotte Tilbury one took 125 uses to finish, and the e.l.f. one took only 62 uses to finish, but that makes sense because I think the e.l.f. one is only like 8 grams, and the one from Charlotte Tilbury is 13 grams. This one from Kosas, I've talked about it before, it just wasn't my favorite. I ended up finishing this by using it to set my under eye concealer, but I do prefer mattifying formulas, and that's just not what this was. It was also finicky. If I used the wrong brush, it would either not apply enough and I would still feel like my makeup hadn't been set, and then if I applied even just a little bit too much, then it was like really cakey and gross. I don't really feel like I ever fully understood how best to use this, and really it is that I don't really have the skin type and makeup preferences that this powder allows. The people that I know that love this powder typically have drier skin, and this one I hit pan on it after 80 uses, and it took 203 uses to finish. Let's talk about a product I really liked, and that's the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. This one took 125 uses to finish as well, just like the powder. That's interesting. And at first I was like a little worried because it is more of a dewy spray. Like it says it's a long-lasting spray because it says party all night, stay all day, no melting, no fading, no creasing. Like it had all these claims, but it does have a little bit more of a glowy finish after you've sprayed it and it dries. It doesn't feel oily or even heavy. It doesn't feel like anything on the skin. In fact, it can feel even a little bit tight. You know how some like oil control long lasting sprays, you spray them on and you let them dry and they feel a little bit tight because they've really like set everything down. That does this, and I don't mind that. If you don't like that, then don't try this. But I like that. It makes me feel like it's actually working. So yeah, out of all the like dewier setting sprays I've tried, which hasn't been that many because that's not my preference, this is my favorite. It does have a very specific scent, but I like it. I like how that smells. And I ended up, yeah, 125 uses out of this. This is a 3.3 ounce bottle, so I'm glad to have gotten so much use out of it, and that makes me feel like it is worth the investment. I would consider getting this again. I think this was really good. I have a bronzer empty. I talked about this multiple times in my project pan for this year, and this was the Nabla bronzer in the shade Ombre, and I like the finish of it. It is very satin and skin-like and buildable. I think it's a really easy to use bronzer, especially if you have fair skin and you don't need to be overtly bronzed. After a while, once I hit pan, I did struggle to get product out because it's a waffle pan, and so it's kind of hard to get everything out of there. But other than that, no complaints. I hit pan on this after 87 uses, and it took 176 uses to finish. I have two foundations. This first one here is the NYX Total Control Pro Drops in the shade Light Pale. I mostly use this as a mixer to lighten my foundations that I already had. I really liked it for that. It took 131 uses to finish. I do plan on purchasing another foundation that's really light to use as a lightener, because now that this is gone, I do feel like I'm missing that in my routine. But I think I'm gonna buy the LA Girl foundation, the white one, just because I think that's gonna help. I think that's just gonna work better than this. This was really pale, but it still had like a yellow tint to it. And I think the LA Girl one is gonna help me match the undertone better in the foundations that I have while still lightening it. And this one from Merit, the letters have all rubbed off, so I don't exactly remember what this was called. Oh, here it is. It's the Perfecting Complexion Stick in the shade Silk, which was a really good shade match for me. And I did dig everything out. I got one of the original ones, which had less product in it. If you buy it now, they have, I think, doubled the amount of product that's in here, but kept the price the same, which is amazing. A lot of brands that I've seen that have changed the size of their products have made the product smaller, but still charged the same. But Merit didn't. They did the opposite, which is great. I have some thoughts on this after having used it all the way through. I do like it. I love it specifically for traveling because it's such an easy product to travel with. I like being able to bring this instead of a glass foundation bottle. Because it is in a stick, it does have a waxier formula than you would get in a foundation bottle. Not necessarily a bad thing. And the coverage isn't too heavy, and so it isn't something that's going to look super cakey or gross on your skin, which is great. But because it does have that slightly more waxy formula, and because it's not super full coverage, I found that I would have to apply quite a bit of it to my face, just because I prefer to have more coverage in my foundation. I have a lot of redness in my face, but I don't have a lot of redness in my body. And so if you're the type of person who just needs a couple swipes, maybe you have a few parts of your face that you want to spot conceal, but you don't need like a full face, I think this would be fantastic for you, and I don't think you would go through it as quickly as I did. Like I said, I have the older packaging, so my use number might not be relevant to you if you have the newer one, but this one took me 50 uses to finish. Merit products are more for people who are kind of like on the go and maybe they have a more minimal makeup routine, and that is not me. I still really enjoyed it, but I think that I'm not really like the target audience for that brand because I like to have a full face. I don't mind wearing a ton of products and having a really long routine. And I'm really not applying makeup on the go that much. Even when I'm traveling, I'm still sitting down and doing like a full makeup routine. So I enjoyed it. I really like the packaging. It did feel very fancy to use, but probably not something I'm going to get again. Another Merit product, I really liked this. This is the highlighter stick, the highlighting balm in the shade Kava, so it was the lighter shade. And this has a little bit more of a emollient formula, so it doesn't dry down all the way. So I wouldn't use it as a highlighting balm on my cheekbones the way most people would, because I like to have my makeup set down at like a powder finish. But I loved this as a cream bronzer mixer. This was beautiful for that. It just made everything look so juicy and beautiful, and I could set it down and it would still have a little bit of a glow, and it just helped mix with so many different types of products. I like to use pretty much everything I can as a cream blush, and this always helped to make it a little bit easier to blend and spread out. So lip pencils, lipsticks, other cream blushes, liquid lipsticks, you name it, anything. I could mix this with that. And not all liquid or cream highlighters are like that. The Milani one, this one here from Milani, this one here from Coco Kind, I really like these, but there are just some formulas that these don't mix well with. The Merit one always mixed well. So yeah, this one was a pleasure to use. I loved it. And if you are the type of person who doesn't mind a little bit of a more creamy finish on your makeup, then you'll like this even more than I did. And this one took 121 uses to finish. I have a mini highlighter here. This is from Becca in the shade Champagne Pop. You can still get this through Smashbox, and I do still love the Becca highlighter formula. It's still one of my favorite powder highlighter formulas out there. I really don't have any urge to purchase additional powder highlights currently. I haven't for a very long time, and I'm just really getting into the liquid cream highlighters, and so I'm trying to slowly make my way through my powder highlights, and this was one of the first ones that I focused on. If I apply too much, it can look a little bit darker than my skin, and so when I turn my head, you can kind of see a darker stripe, and so I have to use a really light hand. This one took me 105 uses total to finish, and I hit pan after 56 uses. And I have two more minis like this in different shades. I think I have rose quartz and vanilla quartz, and I do prefer those shades over this one just because those are a little bit lighter and more suitable for my skin tone. But formula is beautiful, and if you'd like to get your hands on it, I'm pretty sure Smashbox still sells these. And I saved the most exciting ones for last. I have two blush empties. This is probably the first time in my entire life that I've finished that I have two blush empties to share in an empties video. I'm just so excited, and these were gorgeous. I loved these. I have Milani Luminoso, a classic, and also another classic, Hourglass Mood Exposure. This is a mini. My sister-in-law got this for me for my birthday. I just wanted to mention, I'm pretty sure the Milani one hasn't really changed in price that much. This is $9.99, I think, on the website currently. The Hourglass one originally was $24. It might have even been less than that in years prior, but it is now $28. So they are creeping the price up on this mini. $28 for a mini. I love the color of both of these. The Milani Luminoso one was definitely more peachy, and the Mood Exposure one had a little bit more of like a brownie plummy color, and it wasn't as radiant as the Milani one. These are both gorgeous. I have loved wearing these. I am ready to move on. I have plenty of gorgeous blushes in my collection. I had a lot of great memories with these, and it feels very, very good to actually finish a blush. That just never happens for me. And I don't have the number of uses it took me to finish the Hourglass one, but the Milani one, I hit pan after 181 uses, and it took 238 uses to finish. So yeah, that was $531 worth of makeup empties. Very, very excited to be working out some of the oldest products in my collection. That was a really long one. Thank you so much if you've stuck with me all the way to the end. In general, really, thank you for spending some time with me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in my next video.